Welcome back to part 2. In this part we're going to script up our database and have it auto-generate when the container starts up. This means that every time we start up the container we get a fresh database, and that means we can use it over and over again in testing. It means that we can have our database scripts in source control. For now we're going to have a single database script for all the tables that we're going to have. However, what we might do eventually is make it so our script's a little smarter further down the line and pull all the script files out of a different folder and run through them all. This will make it easier for source control so we can see changes as they happen. So we're just going to add a second script that runs. It'll run side by side with the SQL Server script. That's why we put it on the same line with the and there. And we'll make that file, and so it'll be called importdata.sh, and make sure the line endings are LF only, again because this will run inside our Linux container. Just put a note here, so we're going to have to actually wait for SQL Server to start up. We'll give it 20 seconds. It should be plenty of time. It should only probably take 10 seconds. If we find it's too slow we can always increase that, but 20 seconds should be plenty. So now we're going to use the SQL Server tools, and we're going to use the SQL Server CMD or SQL CMD. We'll give it the server name, which will be localhost, the username, which will be SA, and the password, which we're going to get straight out of the environment variable, which we're already setting, and the database will be master. The script's going to be called setup.sql. As I said before, we'll probably make a loop later on that will go through all the SQL scripts in the folder. But for now, we're just going to have one called setup.sql, just to keep it simple once again. So we'll save that. We'll create our setup.sql script. The first thing we're going to do in our SQL setup script is create the database. So we'll create the database, and we're going to call it, of course, CodePersuit. And we'll put a semicolon on the end just to keep it clear and go. And then we'll use CodePersuit. Then we're going to create the table, the first table. The first table will be the user table. And we'll have our user ID, not null, and an identity column. And then we'll have a username field. We'll make it 255 long for now. And we'll make it in varchar so we can support Unicode characters. Not null as well. And that should be it. So we'll just save that, and then we will run our build again to rebuild the container. Make sure we get the latest files, and we'll start that image. Then we'll attach to the Docker image, check that it's running, and it looks like it's completed. So our SQL Server is up and running. Exit out of here, then we'll head over to SQL Management Studio, and we'll reconnect to the server, and we will check that our database has been created, which it has, and that we've got our one table in there, and we do. Excellent. So we'll exit back out now, and now I'm going to add some scripts I prepared earlier, which is just to add the repository table and a couple of constraints on the primary key. You don't want to have to sit through all that typing, and the code is in GitHub anyway. So we'll just kill off the original container. Once again, we're going to rebuild and then rerun the container so that we pick up those new files, or the one new SQL script, and attach to it again. Make sure it's all working. And there we go. And looks like it's running. Check the database starts, and it has. There we go. The database was made. Go back to SQL Management Studio. Just reconnect again. And we're just going to refresh that. And now we should have two tables, which we do. Columns and the non-null constraints. Excellent. So we'll exit out of there and head back over to Visual Studio Code. We're going to make two files. One I've just dropped in there already, and we'll just look at the second file. So we're going to make user.csv and repository.csv, and we're going to put in some test values into those, just comma separated values in the order of the columns that are on the table. And in our import data.sh, we're going to add 2 lines that just use the BCP command to populate those tables with that data. And this is how going forward we'll populate our test database with test data. It means, at the moment at least, and as things get bigger obviously it will take a little more time, but it takes about 20 seconds to launch a Docker image and completely build our database and have a clean, fresh testing database every time we want to do that. It means we can write integration heavy tests that include the database and not have to write millions and millions of tiny unit tests, and actually test full parts of our system all the way through to using the database, getting the data back, and check any changes to schema, etc. So there's those lines there using the BCP command. Same thing again, using the password from the environment variable and the server's local host and the user's SA, and just the path to those CSV files. So that's that. We'll do the same thing again, rebuild, rerun. I'm just skipping it through it here quickly because you've seen it a few times. Then we'll just write a select statement just to double check that our scripts are all working. So we'll select both tables and make sure that we get some data back. So we'll select from the user table and we'll select from the repository table. Now unfortunately user is a keyword, so we'll just have to put brackets around that. And there we go, we can see we've got the data. And last, we'll make a script folder underneath our project, and we're just going to put a docker build.bat and a docker start.bat for now. Later on we'll use docker compose, and we'll do this properly, but for now, as we only currently have one Docker image, we don't have dependencies and chains. It's just for ease of use, we're just going to throw in 2 batch files. Makes life a little bit easier, and we'll just test that they run. If I can get the name correct, it's build docker, not docker build. And same for the docker run, we'll do a very similar thing. Once we come to building second Docker files, etc., we'll put them in here. And as I said, we'll take a look at Docker compose further down the line once we've got a fully built, or at least more built up application. And that's about it. And as we finish off, in the next tutorial, we're going to use Dapper to load the same data back out of the database into our MVC controllers. And we'll use dependency injection for that. And we will turn our controllers into async whenever they are hitting IO bound functions. Thanks for watching. See you soon.